You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Grant McAuley alongside Jake Mastroianni. After what is starting to feel an awful lot like the movie Groundhog Day, our show doesn't begin with Sonny and Cher, but at this point, it might as well. But the Braves, they don't got offense. They used to have it last year. We haven't seen it much, especially in the month of May, and they didn't have it tonight against the Washington Nationals in a 3-1 loss, in losing 3 out of 4 in this series, which on paper, and we'll talk a lot about this, seemed like a good opportunity for the Braves to come home and grab a couple of series wins. Safe to say things did not go according to plan. We're going to get into all of that, what went on in this particular loss, and, of course, get you set up for the Oakland Athletics, who roll into Truist Park over the weekend for a 3-game series. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Want to let you know to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to us here on Locked On Sports Atlanta on YouTube. Even if you don't like the outcome of the game, we do enjoy talking some Braves with you, and we try to do it as much as we can. So if you appreciate us and appreciate that, comments and likes are definitely appreciated by us as well. Subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts as well. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get free shipping from coast to coast. That's SupplyHouse.com. Braves, I think, are looking for a place where they can order some offense, Jake. I don't think they care what coast it's on as long as it gets here. But the question has been, has this package gotten lost in the mail because the Braves, for whatever reason, have not been able to figure out how to deliver the runs they need to win some games that are certainly not out of hand?
Yeah, I mean, it's another game where, the pitching gives them a chance. It's not like it was an insurmountable, number of runs to come back from. It's just, it's not there. And you talked about it. I mean, you're coming home to face the Nationals for 4, the A's for 3. You feel like it's a chance to, go 5-2 in that stretch, win a couple of series at home. But it just doesn't matter who they're playing right now. And it'll be the same thing, hopefully, when this team turn things around. It's not going to matter to me who they're playing because I think they can beat the best teams in baseball when they're playing well. But certainly the way they're playing right now, I don't care if they're playing the worst team in baseball. Just the way that they're playing and the way the offense is going, they get beat by anybody. They can lose a 4-game series to anybody just like they did against the Nationals.
I mean, it's a struggle right now. And even when you see, looking up and down this lineup, names that, should strike fear in the heart of opposing pitchers, I mean, that's just not happening right now. And obviously, as I said last night, ultimately, you are what the numbers say you are. Even if the talent is there, you've got to be able to realize some of that. And it doesn't mean it's for lack of trying, but for whatever reason, the combined frustrations of this Braves offense are reaching a level in which it's been going on for an alarming amount of time, and you just kind of have to wonder, what is it going to take to get this team going? Not just one game where they might explode for 6 or 8 or 9 runs, whatever the case may have been that we've seen, but over the past 3-4 weeks especially, those days have been fewer and further between. And I know we don't want to make a talking point out of it every night. Losing the National League MVP is not going to help matters, but when you do look at this club, Jake, there's still plenty of names and plenty of resumes and plenty of guys who are in the primes of their career that should simply be having a better run of it than they have the first couple of months. It's pretty much Marcell Ozuna in one tier and everybody else trying to catch up.
It is. I mean, Matt Olson's been playing better as of late. He didn't have a hit tonight, had a walk, had a hard hit ball, and just was inches away from having a big 2-out RBI hit. But, I mean, for the most part, yeah, it's been Ozuna. I mean, 2 hits for him tonight. I mentioned that OPS is falling over at 1,000 now, but again, he's still just doing incredible things for this Braves. He's just not getting any help around him. And you hate to just keep making excuses for these guys, but Riley did miss a couple of weeks, and he hasn't looked particularly great since coming back over 4 tonight with a strikeout. Did have a hard hit ball. I thought the bats for Sean Murphy tonight were pretty terrible, but again, he's been out for 2 months, and it's just going to take some time for these guys to come back. And the 2-out hits just aren't there. That's something, this Braves team did a lot last year. Obviously, the home runs are what, that team is known for, but they also just, in 2-out situations, they seem to rise to the occasion, and that's just not there at the moment. I mean, twice in the past couple of nights, we've seen Albies at second base with nobody out, and then 3 straight strikeouts, just like we saw to end the game tonight. And it's for whatever reason, the vibes just aren't there. And it has to be getting into the players' minds at this point, because it's no longer just a week or a 2-week stretch. This is a month and a half now that we've seen. They were really hot the first 2 weeks of the season. It looked like this Braves offense, but ever since then, it's just nobody has really gotten going. And you just wonder if that's, playing in, baseball is a mental game in that regard. It really is. And you just have to wonder if these guys, it's starting to weigh on them a little bit. They know they're not playing to the level that they're capable of. And maybe guys are trying to press, do a little too much, but whatever it is, it's not working, whatever they're trying to do at the moment.
Yeah, and you can't really blame anybody we're all human, and you press. When you don't get the results that you want, we don't do the show that we want one night. I want to have a better show the next night. That's kind of the way that works. You can apply that to anything that you do in life. If you have standards, then you want it to be as good as it possibly can be. And I can assure you, these guys have standards. And if you want to see what their standard is, go and look at the kinds of things they've done in their career. Nobody enjoys walking into a stadium, looking up at a 70-foot scoreboard and noticing that they're batting 143 or 190 or 227 or whatever the case is for some of these guys. But you would imagine at some point, and we've said this a lot, to the point where, again, the Groundhog Day thing really comes back into effect. The lineup's too talented to play like this for the entirety of a season, but it has reached certainly a frustrating level, a boiling point, if you want to call it that, a tipping point for a lot of fans. I'm sure that has probably already been surpassed a couple of weeks ago, but the search for answers continues. I don't think this is a fire the hitting coach, situation by any means. I've seen a little bit of that on social media, and I know that, questions are thrown out there sometimes just to stir some conversation and just to wonder out loud. But, what the Braves did last year that was, I think, so impressive about their offense is, yes, they hit a ton of home runs, but they were aggressive. They had a plan. They jumped on pitchers early. They could work counts as well, though. They cut down on the number of strikeouts. It was a very well-rounded offense, and we just haven't seen a lot of that. And the strikeouts and the poor at-bats, perhaps the pressing that's come into play over the past couple of weeks, now we're starting to see more box scores that have 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, a lot of double-digit strikeout games. Tonight wasn't one of those, but they were hitless with runners in scoring position. And you mentioned when they could have used a hit or two to maybe get that ninth inning rally going after a leadoff walk for Ozzie Albies, who stole second base, 3 consecutive strikeouts. So it's certainly not happening. The magic's not there. The mojo's not there, whatever it is. I don't know if it's time for that closed-door meeting or if that really is the thing that's going to put them over the top. But at this point, it couldn't hurt to all sit down and figure out what in the world they can do to, get it moving. You might as well try it out, and we'll see what the Braves come up with, because it was about this time, 2 years ago, that they had one of those, and that turned out to go pretty well to get them on track in 2022. I'm just not ruling it all out, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you got to try anything at this point. Go pull Jobu on them if you have to, light some fires in there or something. Get going. And look, I have the strikeout thing. To me, I didn't see that as much in the early goings of the struggles with this offense, and it's really started, I think, in the past 2 weeks that we've seen it really ramp up. And that's where I go to, looking at the the pressing, just trying to do too much. But make no mistake about it, the at-bats just aren't good. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of game plan, and I don't want to make excuses for them, but every time in this game, it felt like they hit a ball hard, it was right to somebody. They had 4 balls tonight hit 101 miles per hour or harder, all good launch angles. It's not like these are hard hit balls that are pop-ups or hit into the ground. All good launch angles, all right to somebody. So again, they're still making hard contact, and it's frustrating on the other side. You're seeing, Jacob Young, Lane Thomas, and these guys who are getting this soft contact that's just dropping in and killing the Braves. Meanwhile, when you're not going well, and again, the at-bats aren't great. I'm not blaming it all on just bad luck, but when it's going that way and then you make great contact and it's right to somebody, it just adds to that level of frustration where it just feels like you can't do anything right and nothing is going your way. I mentioned the foul ball by Matt Olson. That felt like an opportunity, a big 2-out hit there, a big 2-out RBI to get him within 1, and it's just foul. It just seems like, with the way the Braves offense is going, and again, just a lot of poor bats, a lot of strikeouts in that, but then when they do make good contact, they're not getting rewarded for it. And that just makes it even harder to understand, a harder pill to swallow for this Braves team right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the old saying goes, they'd have no luck if not for bad luck when it comes to that. And I think that's part of it. And again, as we've said, you don't want to make a lot of excuses, but you watch those kinds of things that you just laid out, and then you see Joey Meneses take a pitch that was up and in, a fastball at 96, and managed to hit it off the end of the bat right up the first base line and drive in 2 runs, and that turned out to be the difference in this game. The Braves aren't having, good luck like that. They're not having bad contact that turns into base hits much. It's not like nothing I've seen. It's a crazy phenomenon, if you want to call it that. But either way, I mean, we'll continue to talk about it on the show as we move forward. We do need to talk a little bit about what went on the mound in this one, and we will get to that as Ray Kerr got the spot start in place of Reynaldo Lopez, who's been pushed back to the series opener against the Oakland Athletics. And, of course, we'll get you set for that series as well. All of that is going to be coming your way on the Braves Postcast right after this. Get supplies from the site that is made for the skilled trade. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros and skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining the SupplyHouse.com's free TradeMaster program, and every TradeMaster gets access to dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Well, let's continue the autopsy of this game by getting inside the box score, and the line score of it is a 3-1 win for the Washington Nationals, who are now 26-29 on the year. Let it be said, they're way more competitive this season than I really anticipated, and that has to do with kind of being a scrappy upstart team, and this is the kind of win that a scrappy upstart team would certainly like to pick up. 3-1 over the Atlanta Braves, who dropped to 31-23 after this loss. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Nationals, who left 8 men on base. For the Braves, just the 1 run, 5 hits, couple of errors in this one, and 7 men left on base. Williams picks up the win. He's now 5-0, did just enough, I felt like, over his 6 innings to stay a step ahead of the Braves offense. Not a hard thrower, but the 5 2/3 innings of 1-run ball picks up his 5th win of the year. He stays perfect. Ray Kerr, meanwhile, who we'll talk about in just a moment, he takes a loss, drops to 1-2. The save goes to Finnegan, his 15th of the season. As you looked at this, and we talked a lot about the offense, and I'm sure it'll come up again a time or 3 before we're done with all of this, but looking at what Ray Kerr was able to do, 3 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, doesn't necessarily look like a lot of quality there. A couple of walks, 7 strikeouts for him. I believe he hit a batter as well in all of that. But I feel like a lot to like about Ray Kerr, the stuff that this guy has. And I hate to just keep maybe just banging this drum over and over, but I'm a little bit perplexed in taking an arm like this, particularly when you're missing a couple of bullpen pieces. I know Tyler Matzik hadn't really figured it out before he went on the injured list. Now AJ Minter's on the IL. You've still really kind of had maybe one spot, that 8th spot in that bullpen mix that hasn't really truly been settled. It seems like Ray Kerr could do a lot of good out there, and I know the Braves have more than a few minor league arms. I don't know if it's not wanting to use the options, not feeling like they're ready. I mean, Bryce Elder not pitching well, and AJ Smith-Shawver getting hurt doesn't help matters either. I'm just trying to figure out how we got to the point before the end of May where you take what could be a useful reliever and stretch him out to start, and as you pointed out, do so kind of on the fly at the big league level.
Yeah, there's several ways I want to go with this, but I don't want to rant here for the next 20 minutes. The way they've done Ray Kerr, it's not doing him any favors. I mean, the last time that he started, he didn't know it until like the last minute, and then they throw him in there and he gets blown up in that one. This one, it's in one of those situations where, hey, you may pitch on Wednesday if the starter doesn't go deep. If not, then you maybe will start you the next day. He has good stuff. I think there's really good potential for him to either be a reliever, and maybe there's potential there for him to be a starter, but let's not figure that out on the fly at the major league level. If you want to make that transition for him, send him down to AAA, at least give him a couple of turns there to see if it's something that he can actually do. But I don't love the way they've handled the Ray Kerr situation, because I think he can be good, and I think he can be, at very least a good reliever. But if you wanted to stretch him out as a starter, why not do that at the minor league level? So, I'm with you. I don't typically question the Braves and what they do in their front office. They make a lot of great decisions. They're a lot smarter than I am, but just this whole Ray Kerr situation is just very confusing to me. I don't understand it, and I think it's been a detriment to him so far because he has good stuff. 13 whiffs on 18 swings on that curveball tonight. I mean, it's a very good fastball curveball combination. But again, just to say, hey, why don't you become a starting pitcher on the fly at the big league level just doesn't sound very smart to me. And the fact that, you pushed Reynaldo Lopez back, I get it. You got to be careful with his innings. And I know the Braves ultimately, hopefully in the end, aren't going to care too much about losing a 4-game series. And it wouldn't have mattered because the offense didn't score much. But in fact, you felt pretty good with Reynaldo Lopez in the 4th game of this series to go deep into the game, pitch good as he has all year and give you a shot to win. And you bump him back and then insert Ray Kerr into this. It just the whole situation, the way they handled it just doesn't really sit well with me. And it's kind of frustrating from a fan's perspective. But, to bring it all kind of full circle, I do think it's been a disservice to Ray Kerr because I think he's a good arm that can do some good things. I don't like the positions they're putting him in.
And let me paint the picture a different way. If you get 9 innings of 3-run ball from your pitching staff, regardless of how it all breaks down, they've done everything they're supposed to do, regardless of if all 3 runs came off of one guy. 3 runs that you hold the opposition to should give you the opportunity to win a baseball game. Unfortunately for the Braves, the way they're hitting right now, it doesn't. And I know that might get more scrutiny on why exactly, Ray Kerr is out there. But the bottom line is I do feel like he's got the stuff to be a contributor on this pitching staff. But I mean, I'm with you. I'm a little bit confused as to why right now is it the time to try something like this, especially when you're in this run of 2+ weeks of not having an off day. So if you are trying to kind of guard the bullpen just a little bit, putting someone out there that has a 70-75 pitch limit and runs into immediate trouble like he did in the Pittsburgh start, and even in this one, still not able to get through 4, so you've got to cobble together the rest of the game, which Jesse Chavez was a huge help in that, and that's good to have Jesse Chavez, but wouldn't it be nice to have a couple of guys that could give you 2+ innings out of the bullpen like that? I just feel like that's kind of the place for Ray Kerr. Again, I'm not paid to make these decisions, but I am paid to wonder at times what exactly is going on when something just doesn't seem to be maybe the best route to go when you have other minor league options. I know you might not be, overly inspired by what you've seen from Darius Vines thus far this year. I get it. Alan Winans has gotten roughed up a couple of times. Dylan Dodd last year certainly took his lumps, and we've already been over the Bryce Elder thing that, he hasn't been able to refine his form, and that as much as anything is a contributing factor in here. And then, oh, by the way, you look at all of it and think they've been trying to put this whole pitching staff, and has done a really good job without Spencer Strider at the front end of it. And I really don't feel like, even at this point, Jake, that we can lay a bunch of losses at the feet of the pitching staff because they're simply not getting the support. Atlanta, with just 9 runs in this 4-game series as the offense continues its struggles. Michael Harris had a sac fly. Ozzie Albies had 2 hits and a walk. Marcell Ozuna had 2 hits. Other than that, it's just there wasn't much to speak of offensively in this game. Again, the 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, 7 men left on base. You already went through what the 9th inning was, which was just pain, and more pain if you're not into strikeouts, and who is. And the bullpen, meanwhile, in the background of all of that, kept this game manageable the whole way through. So ultimately, I guess this is just an exercise in futility because it comes back to the same thing we're talking about night in and night out. They've got to get more out of the bats. If it's clutch hits, if it's home runs, if it's clutch home runs, whatever the case is, the Braves need a little bit more of all of it.
They do. And again, I went on a while there about Ray Kerr and just the decision to start him. But like you said, I mean, the pitching, it gave you 3 runs, and that should be enough. But with this offense right now, especially in May, it's just not. They got to do more.
Yeah, and that's just simply the bottom line with it. Washington's 3-run inning was highlighted by a single off the end of the bat that brought in 2 runs. It's not the kind of thing that you expect to be the backbreaker for you, but lately it's just felt like once it gets to 3 runs or more for the opposing team, it's going to be difficult for the Braves. And that stat we threw out there last night, this is another one, Jake. 3 runs by an opponent and you're not able to win a game. That just didn't sound like the brand of Braves baseball that we've been talking about, especially over the course of 2023 and what we thought would be how it would look in 2024.
They haven't, they haven't. And now you look at it too, they're going to have a losing month of May, which I think they haven't had a losing month since 2022. I know there's a post out there from Kevin McAlpin that talked about that. So it's just, again, this month of May, I don't know what it is, but hopefully things are going to change soon as we turn the calendar over to June.
Yeah, the June boom has usually been a thing for the Braves. Can you count on it, though? they're going to need the offense if they want to make that kind of thing happen. We're going to continue on here in the Braves postcast and get you set for the 3-game series. It's going to be happening this weekend at Truist Park. That'll feature the Oakland Athletics, another club that comes in with a sub-500 record. Can the Braves take advantage of that opportunity? We will get you set up for that series as the Braves postcast continues. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, let's talk about this weekend as the Braves will welcome the Oakland Athletics to town. And Jake, I think they've played at times a little bit better, but clearly still a team that's well under 500 and I guess looking for its permanent home. And they're going to be trying to figure that out for the next 5 or so years. It has looked like it's got a little bit more life there in Oakland than it did last year as far as the 26 men that they're trotting out there. It's another series that looks winnable on paper, but unfortunately we have to put the disclaimer on this. The game is not played on paper, and even if it was for the Braves lately, it hasn't played out that way for them once the game gets going.
Yeah, like I said, you just can't take any opponent for granted at this point with where the Braves are. And, again, like I said at the beginning, when they're playing right, I don't care who they're going up against. I think they can beat anybody, but just right now, there's no easy wins for them. And this Oakland A's team, they have played a little bit better this year. There's been some fight. They got some good arms in the back of that bullpen. They hit a lot of home runs. Surprisingly, that's really all they've been hitting. They're 27th in average, but they're 4th in home runs. So they really have found that long ball, and maybe they can teach the Braves how to do it because they have suddenly lost it. So, again, you got to find the offense. I mean, it all comes back to that. Can the offense get going against a team that they should beat? And it's another opportunity for them to do that, I think. But again, as we talked about last night, it's now at a point where I need to see it over long stretches before I can really believe this team is back. And, I think for themselves that they kind of need to see it over some long stretches. So, again, it's just frustrating at this point, and you've got to stretch here against some teams that you should be able to take care of, but they're just not doing it. And you got to get it done on the field. You can't just look at what you've done in the past and think it's going to be a cakewalk for them. You got to get it done on the field.
Yeah, and I don't think the Braves are a club that really overlooks anybody. I mean, that just hasn't been a part of their DNA, if you will, or how their, character comes together in that clubhouse. I mean, they're a team that typically just goes out there, and if it's highs or lows, they just kind of deal with it and find their way back. And it's just been a lot of wandering in the wilderness here lately, which leaves us just kind of having the same discussion each night, because with this lineup struggles, the Braves have lost 10 of their last 16 games. That's certainly not ideal. Of course, the loss of Reynaldo Lopez Jr. is going to be something that they're going to continue to make some changes to the lineup that we wouldn't have normally seen, whether it's at the leadoff spot or I think even at the 2 and perhaps 3 or 4 spots. They might move some guys around. Maybe you try Matt Olson in the 2 spot again. I know that didn't work out great a few years ago, but you can't rule anything out. I don't know if we've reached the draw names out of a hat or everybody uses the same bat levels of frustration that we've heard the old stories about. But, at some point, when you're in a series against the Washington Nationals club where you average just over 2 runs per game, a team that you have taken the season series from, I believe, 6 consecutive years, that's just not the kind of thing that you expect from an offense as talented as the Braves, again, on paper and with the resumes that these guys have. The question, I think, now is, can Reynaldo Lopez get the Braves started with a good performance that could help fuel a win? Because it feels like it's going to have to be the strong arm of the pitching staff that carries this club moving forward, at least for a while longer. Chris Sale's going to go on Saturday. Charlie Morton scheduled to go on Sunday against Oakland. So 3 of the Braves, top starters here. You're not throwing a bullpen game. You're not throwing a spot starter. You're not throwing a rookie. You're throwing 3 veterans at the Oakland Athletics, a club that, again, has had its struggles. You mentioned as far as the runs scored, it's a little bit of a challenge, but they do have a way of coming through with the long ball from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, pitching, I'm not all that worried about in this series. I mean, whether it's Lopez, even Morton, I know he's been struggling a bit here lately. I feel like the pitching is going to give this team a chance to win. It's all comes back to the offense and what can they do. And just taking it back to Oakland, you may remember the Braves at the end of May last year lost a series in Oakland. It was one of the worst teams we've ever seen. So, that's just baseball sometimes, but that's also after that series and going into that Diamondback series to start June, where things started to turn around. And, again, we've talked about it, and for whatever reason, just that calendar flip from May to June seems to get them going. But, we previewed thinking Reynaldo Lopez was going to pitch on Thursdays. You can go back and listen to the last postcast. You want to hear more about Lopez, but I mean, he's been good. It has been a little bit more of a battle here for him lately. I know he had the rain shortened start kind of last time out. That caused him to leave a little bit early, but still been really, really good and able to get you through 5+ innings, giving up 2 earned or less most of the time. I mean, you're going to take that. Again, I really don't have any concerns about the pitching coming up in this series. It's just whether or not this offense can get going against a pitching staff that, again, you should be able to get to.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the way that the Braves would draw it up, and the pitching has performed. And again, despite losing their number one starter, after just 2 starts this year, they have found ways consistently to get it done. The guy who throws on Saturday, Chris Sale, it's a big reason why. And Jake, I'm going to be very confused if somebody not named Chris Sale wins the National League Pitcher of the Month for the month of May, because he was so dominant and just showed you that there's plenty left in the tank, and the Braves clearly have to be thrilled with this upgrade to their rotation that they felt like they were making with this trade. And Chris Sale has delivered. He was unbeaten in 5 May starts. He struck out 45 batters in 32 innings, walked just 2 men. That is a level of dominance that the Braves would like to see a little bit more of on Saturday. I know that that won't be in the month of May anymore, but you might as well start your campaign for, I believe, the June Pitcher of the Month, and that would be something the Braves would certainly take as well. Charlie Morton, you mentioned he did not pitch well his last time out, got bombed by the Nationals. He'll be looking to get back on a winning track against the Oakland Athletics as well. But Reynaldo Lopez gets it started. He's 2-2 with a 1.75 ERA. He'll throw on Friday night. J.P. Sears, the lefty for the Athletics, having a pretty good year, 4-3 with a 3.88. The Braves see another lefty starter. Jake, it feels like they've seen a ton of southpaws here lately. That would probably portend well for Ozzie Albies getting another crack at the leadoff spot if the Braves continue what they've been doing.
Yeah, I would think that would be the case. It seems to be what they're doing right now. Ozzie against lefties, Michael Harris against righties. And, Ozzie's been, after a little bit of slump he's been able to get on base in these games and just, haven't been able to get him in. But, this lineup, we know in the past at least, and really for, at least here lately, they've done much better job against lefties. I know they struggled to begin the season, but, J.P. Sears, he's had a good season, as you mentioned. But you look at the starters they're throwing in this series, or potentially throwing, none of them have a lot of strikeouts. And that's something that the Braves have really been struggling with, but they've been struggling against pitchers that don't generally strike out a lot either. So I don't know necessarily what that means, but it's pitchers that generally allow you to put the ball in play. And hopefully we're going to see some batted ball luck come around the Braves' way in this one. So again, I'm just waiting at the edge of my seat. I'm still watching every game, every at bat. I feel like there's going to be a breakout at some point. Hopefully this weekend is going to be when it happens.
Well, we will look forward to talking to you about not just a breakout game, but perhaps the start of a trend that the Braves would very much like to get going, of some much better offense to support what has been some really good pitching thus far over the first couple of months. But a very frustrating month of May is going to be coming to a close here very soon. Reynaldo Lopez against J.P. Sears in Game 1, first pitch 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time at Truist Park on Friday. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast. As always, win or lose, I guess there's no draws in baseball, but win or lose, we appreciate you riding along with us. Make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube and to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us those likes and comments. Share the show with a friend, and we'll look forward to joining you next time. Once again, frustration for the Braves and their offense, a 3-1 loss to the Washington Nationals, and a loss in a 4-game series as well. They'll look to get back in action against Oakland on Friday. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. We will catch you soon, and until next time, so long, everyone.